It is Better Country 101.7 The Bull. Good to be with you here on this Tuesday morning, and we are now joined by a very special guest here in our 9 o'clock hour, a guest that you can see live at the Legacy Theater in Carthage, Illinois next Saturday night. She'll be alongside the grandson of one of country music's greatest, while she herself is the granddaughter of one of the greatest to ever step in front of a microphone. That would be Tayla Lynn joining us here on 101.7 The Bull. Tayla, good to talk to you here this morning. How are you doing?
I'm great. Good morning. Excited to be here.
Well, it's good to have you with us here. Let's get into a little things here. I got a couple questions about your grandmother, or your Meemaw, as you like to call her, but then I'll also get to some questions about yourself. For those who don't know, obviously, your grandmother, your Meemaw, is the legendary Loretta Lynn, and I just got to know, what was that like growing up, knowing that your grandmother was one of the biggest names in the history of country music?
Well, it was amazing. Are you kidding? We loved it. But more than that, she was so humble and just as country as cornbread. So if you were around her, you never really thought about it unless she was on stage and you could see everybody clapping for her or whatever. But, I mean, she was just so sweet and loving and affectionate that you didn't really think about the other part of it when you were in her, in her hugs, which she loved to hug.
She did. Well, that's great to hear. And I'm kind of curious, did she ever involve you guys in anything she did performance-wise, or did she kind of keep her family life separate from the professional life?
I don't think she knew how to do keep it separate. We all piled on the bus with her.
Oh.
We begged her all the time. She'd let us go whenever we wanted. She was a grandmother, you know what I mean? If you'd ask her if you could come, she wanted you to. She really loved, my dad toured with her from the time he was, I guess my kid's age, so about 9, 10, 11, until she retired in 2017. My dad was with her that entire time, my twin aunts. I toured with her on and off for, 20 years. So my Aunt Sissy was with her. All of us have gone. My little cousin Emmy that just got top 5 on American Idol. She was on the road with Meemaw. So, yeah, she didn't know how to separate it. We didn't want her to.
It sounds like she was just trying to spoil you guys, spoil the grandkids, spoil the kids there as well, and that was a pretty cool thing. We're talking to Tayla Lynn, who is the granddaughter of the legendary Loretta Lynn here on 101.7 The Bull. And it does make sense that you followed in your grandmother's footsteps, went into the music industry yourself. Was there a little piece of advice that she gave you? Did she give you anything when you told her that you were going to go into the music industry?
Oh gosh, she told me so many things. Sorry, my kids just tried to jump into the car where I'm hiding, doing this interview with you right now. Oh Lord, so much advice. Let me think of just maybe one thing. She said, learn how to play 3 chords on a guitar. She told me to get a tape recorder. Back then they didn't have the phones where you could do the voice memos. Get in a bathroom or somewhere where you can really hear yourself and sing the same song over and over and over again until you sound great on it. So those were 2 things that she taught me. And then as far as bringing the family out, she said if you're going to bring your family out, don't have them running around the stage. The promoters don't like it. You got to do business first when you're out there. So have somebody help you with the kids. But then in the same breath, she'd say, well, you got to take your kids with you, honey. So you never knew what she was talking about. I mean, she was so confusing. She'd say all the things at one time.
Well, she's just one of the most interesting people in all of country music, so a lot of great advice, I'm sure, came out of her mouth. I could sit here and ask questions all day about her, but let's talk a little bit about you. You were a member of a band back in the day, a band called Stealing Angels, late 2000s, early 2010s. One of the band members was actually Jennifer Wayne, who is the granddaughter of John Wayne. What was that experience like working with those girls, and did you and Jennifer have to pass notes on being the granddaughters of very famous people?
Oh, Lord, Jen, we still are best friends, Jen and Caroline and I. No, I don't think we passed notes. Our relationships were so different because John had passed away, so she didn't have a relationship with John Wayne, but his wife, I'm losing her name right now for some reason, but her grandmother was still alive, so she had that relationship. But she didn't really have a relationship with John Wayne. But I loved being in that trio. We all moved in together. We were in our late 20s. It was a party time, a fun time. We we ate and drank that life. And Paul Worley, who produced the Dixie Chicks, Martina McBride, Sarah Evans, Lady Antebellum, he was our record label and our producer. And it was just, I mean, we were on a radio tour for years, and it was just balls to the wall. It was so fun.
We're talking to Tayla Lynn, the granddaughter of Loretta Lynn. She's going to be at the Legacy Theater with Conway Twitty's grandson, Tre Twitty. We'll talk about your performance here coming up in just a little bit. But your website, I was doing some deep diving yesterday, talking about your solo project that you released back in 2016. It's an EP called The Ranch. Kind of describes a culmination of a number of things that happened throughout your life. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. You want to talk a little bit about your journey to getting to that point, releasing your first solo project?
Sure. I think you're probably talking. I've been sober. I just celebrated my 11th year completely sober from drugs and alcohol on June the 4th, and that I haven't had a drink in 20 years.
Wow. Congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you. I'm a recovering alcoholic, and so it's definitely been a journey. I don't really know how to put it into words in a quick radio interview, but it's definitely been a journey, and it's helped me be a better songwriter. You know, Mima always say was really supportive during that time, and so I've taken some of that trauma and written about it, and I've also, done that with our new record that's coming out with Twitty and Lynn. I've been inspired to write stuff for that too. So our new record is out as well, and it just came out this past month. And we're so excited about it. There's 7 originals on there that we wrote, and we've done the Loretta and Conway covers as well. So it's been a wild journey, but I got 2 kids and a husband that are wonderful, and I live out here on the Loretta Lynn Ranch, and life is good today.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like it. And you kind of took one of my questions talking about that new album, Cooking Up Lovin'. I believe you had that out in April. So very intriguing to hear some of that music on that album when you come here to Carthage here. Again, we're talking to Tayla Lynn here on Better Country 101.7 The Bull. You have since pumped out a few albums, and then you started working with Tre Twitty, obviously the grandson of Conway Twitty. What is your history with the Twitty family? Were you ever approached about working with Tre, or did you kind of discover him on your own?
I discovered him on my own. Tre and I did not meet until Meemaw was doing a show out here every summer called Remembering Conway, and she would have his family come out and sing on it, and Tre was out there singing Tight Fitting Jeans in 2016, and I was like, oh my God, I love this guy, and I asked him, would you want to do some shows together? And he said he was really into his photography at the time and not interested. But then, 2 weeks later, he was like, you know what, I'd love to explore this idea. And we became a duo in 2018, and we've been hitting it hard ever since.
Yeah, you guys have been doing great work. I saw you guys have been on the Grand Ole Opry stage, which is really incredible. I know the history.
5 times.
5 times.
Yeah, we've been on there 5 times.
That's awesome. We're talking to Tayla Lynn here, the granddaughter of Loretta Lynn here. One more question, of course, before we let you go here. Tayla, thanks so much for taking the time to hang out with us here a little bit this morning. You and Tre obviously set to perform next weekend at the Legacy Theater in Carthage. What can folks expect when they come to see Twitty and Lynn on the stage there next Saturday night?
Oh man, well, Tre will pull a lady up there if you let him to sing to her. We do all the hits, well, not all the hits, but we do, Louisiana Woman, Mississippi Man, Only Make Believe, Hello Darling, the Bum 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 song, You Ain't Woman Enough, Coal Miner's Daughter. We do all the hits. Sometimes it's an hour and a half, sometimes it's 2 hours. We have audience participation. We tell story after story. I mean, Tre's a great storyteller of his grandfather and his grandfather's, legacy. I kind of, for better or for worse, depending on, what kind of personality you have, I kind of flit around the stage and talk about my grandmother and how she was as a grandmother, not so much, her history in country music. Tre's great at that. I'm terrible at telling the history of anything. And it's a family show, too, as long as you bring your kids. You know what Conway Twitty sure sang about some sensual things.
He sure did.
So be ready for that if you bring your kids, because it's Trey will tell it like it is, but we have tons of kids that come, and it's so fun.
Well, we're looking forward to having you guys there in Carthage. It's going to be a great show next Saturday night. Twitty and Lynn, we're talking to Tayla Lynn. Tayla, thanks so much for taking some time. I know you have a busy schedule, but we do appreciate you spending some time with us here and getting folks ready for the show.
Well, thank you so much.